Let's get right into it. Number 10. The Lunchbox Brainwash. It's 1985, and Kraft has a problem. Their bologna sales are tanking. Then, some genius at Oscar Mayer has an idea that would change how an entire generation of kids eat lunch. They noticed that moms were feeling guilty about working instead of making picture-perfect lunches for their kids, so they turned that guilt into gold. They created these little yellow boxes filled with processed meat, cheese, and crackers. But they didn't sell it as lazy parenting in a box. They marketed it as giving kids independence and creativity at lunchtime, and it worked. Suddenly, if your mom packed you a regular sandwich, you were living in the Stone Age. Kids would trade anything for a Lunchable. Everyone wanted to build their own tiny pizza while their classmates were stuck with boring PB&Js. Kraft didn't just create a product, they changed what society considered a proper kid's lunch. They made parents feel like they were failing if they weren't buying these overpriced boxes of processed food. These things were originally designed to help Kraft get rid of their excess bologna. These little boxes cost about 3 times more than making the same lunch from scratch. But parents kept buying them because Kraft convinced everyone that this was what cool kids ate. They even had focus groups where kids said they felt more popular when they brought Lunchables to school. Kraft programmed an entire generation to think that processed meat and cheese in a yellow box was the height of elementary school social status, and it's still working today. Lunchables rake in over $1 billion in sales every year. Number 9. The holiday invented by Big Beer. Everyone goes crazy on Cinco de Mayo, wearing sombreros and chugging margaritas. This whole party wasn't started by Mexico. It was started by beer companies in the 1980s. Cinco de Mayo actually celebrates a single battle where Mexico beat France. It's not their Independence Day. It's not even a major public holiday in Mexico. Anheuser-Busch and other beer companies saw an opportunity. They looked at their sales calendar and noticed a big empty spot between St. Patrick's Day and the 4th of July. So they took this minor Mexican holiday and turned it into Mexican St. Patrick's Day. They started pushing ads linking Mexican culture with partying and drinking. The campaign was so successful that by the 1990s, Cinco de Mayo beer sales were beating Super Bowl beer sales. Today, Americans spend more than $600 million on beer just for Cinco de Mayo. In most of Mexico, May 5th is just another day. Kids go to school, adults go to work, and nobody's wearing a fake mustache or drinking green margaritas. The Cinco de Mayo, celebrates the marketing departments of American beer companies. Number 8. The billion-dollar manufacturing mistake. It's 1907, and the Scott Paper Company has a problem. They've got an entire railway car full of toilet paper that's way too thick to use. Most companies would just take the loss. But Scott Paper Company looked at this useless paper and thought, what if we convinced people they need this? And that's how paper towels were born, from a mistake that was too expensive to throw away. They couldn't just sell it as thick toilet paper for your kitchen. So they invented a whole new need. They started telling people that reusable cloth towels were basically germ factories. They convinced restaurants that using the same cloth towel all day was asking for a health inspection failure. Then they went after households. They ran ads showing busy moms dealing with spills using these modern hygienic paper towels. Suddenly, using a cloth towel made you look old-fashioned. Before paper towels, people just used rags, cloth towels, or whatever was around. Now we go through about 13 billion pounds of paper towels every year. Americans use more paper towels than almost every other country combined. We're basically the Olympic champions of throwing away paper. The company that started all this is still around, making billions a year from paper products. Number 7. The perfect morning marketing trap. You wake up at 5 a.m., meditate, journal your gratitude, drink your special mushroom coffee, and do your cold plunge. And if you're not, clearly you're failing at life. This whole perfect morning routine obsession is basically a marketing scheme. Back in the 1920s, most people just woke up and started their day. But then post-cereal invented the idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, not because it was scientifically proven, but because they wanted to sell more cereal. Fast forward to today, and we have an entire industry built around monetizing your morning. That $75 gratitude journal is just paper with fancy marketing. That $200 mushroom coffee is probably no better than regular coffee. That $3,000 cold plunge tub gives you the same benefits as a 5-minute cold shower. Here's the sneaky part. They sell you the idea that all successful people have elaborate morning routines. So if you want to be successful, you have to buy all this stuff. But here's what many successful people actually do. Warren Buffett reads the newspaper and eats McDonald's. Mark Zuckerberg wears the same shirt every day to avoid decision fatigue. And Jeff Bezos just makes sure he gets enough sleep. The best morning routine is whatever works for you. Maybe that's meditation, or maybe it's hitting snooze 3 times and chugging coffee on your way out the door. You don't need to spend half your paycheck on morning optimization products to have a good life. Number 6. The Great SUV Illusion. It all started in the late 1990s when car companies had a brilliant idea. Regular cars weren't making them much money anymore, but SUVs, those big, boxy gas guzzlers, were bringing in serious cash. The problem was, most people found traditional SUVs too big for daily use. So the car companies came up with a plan. Take a regular car, make it slightly taller, add some plastic on the sides, and call it a crossover SUV. Suddenly, this new creation wasn't just a car, it was a lifestyle vehicle. They marketed it as the perfect blend of safety, space, and style. Never mind that these vehicles often had less actual cargo space than the station wagons they replaced, or that the higher center of gravity made them more likely to roll over in an accident. The marketing was brilliant. They convinced us that sitting higher meant being safer. They told us we needed that extra ground clearance for all those off-road adventures we take to the mall. The best part is, these crossovers cost way less to make than real SUVs, since they're built on a cheaper car chassis. But because people perceive them as premium vehicles, companies can charge thousands more. It's like selling a regular sandwich, putting it on slightly taller bread, and charging double. And it worked so well that now regular cars are dying out. In 2023, over half of all new vehicles sold were crossovers. Meanwhile, traditional sedans and wagons are becoming endangered species. The irony is, most crossovers are just regular cars wearing platform shoes and a puffer jacket. Number 5. The $200 natural face scam. There's that friend who always looks naturally flawless. Hate to break it to you, but there's nothing natural about it. The no makeup look is probably the most genius scam the beauty industry ever pulled. They convinced us to buy more products to look like we're wearing no products. Back in the day, makeup could be simple. You'd put on some lipstick and mascara and call it a day. But then the cosmetics industry had a brilliant idea. Why sell 3 products when you could sell 12? So they invented this natural beauty movement. Suddenly you needed a primer, a color corrector, a concealer, a foundation, a cream bronzer, a highlighter, a setting spray, and 5 other products just to look like you woke up like this. It's like ordering a decaf coffee with extra steps, except you're dropping $200 at Sephora. They even made us feel guilty for wearing obvious makeup. You're supposed to spend an hour carefully applying 15 products, just so people can say, wow, you look so good without makeup. The real kicker is how they marketed it to men. Men prefer the natural look. Translation: men prefer when you spend hundreds of dollars and an hour of your time to look like you're not wearing makeup. So next time someone compliments your friend's natural glow, remember that glow probably cost more than their monthly grocery bill. Number 4. The end of nature. You're grocery shopping in December and grab some strawberries without thinking twice. Just 50 years ago, that would be like wanting to go swimming in Alaska in January. But big food companies pulled off something clever. They rewired our brains to forget that fruits and vegetables have seasons. When was the last time you thought, oh, I can't buy bananas, they're not in season? You never have. Companies spent billions creating a global supply chain that's basically a time machine for produce. When it's winter here, they're grabbing summer fruits from the other side of the planet. To make this work, they had to pick fruits that could survive a journey longer than your average relationship. So they bred produce to be tough, not tasty. That bland, watery tomato you're eating is basically the Arnold Schwarzenegger of tomatoes, built for durability, not flavor. And we just accepted this. We started thinking it's normal to eat strawberries that traveled further than we did on our last vacation. This expectation is so deep in our heads that when someone says, I only eat seasonal fruits, we think they're the weird ones. So next time you're buying blueberries in February, remember that's not natural. That's marketing. Number 3. The Brunch Heist. Back in the 1930s, restaurants faced a problem. Their profits were tanking between breakfast and lunch. People would eat breakfast at home, then wait until noon. So they got creative. What if we convinced people that sleeping in and paying $20 for eggs was actually fancy? Brunch was born. They marketed it as this sophisticated, leisurely meal for the elite. The real genius move was adding alcohol. Most places couldn't serve booze before noon due to old laws from Prohibition days. But call it brunch, and suddenly it's totally normal to drink champagne at 11 a.m. Mimosas are basically just orange juice with a splash of cheap champagne. Restaurants are making a 500% profit margin on those. You're paying fine dining prices for eggs that cost them pennies and champagne that would make a wine snob cry. They convinced us that waiting in line for an hour to pay these prices is a status symbol. It's like Stockholm Syndrome, but with overpriced avocado toast. It worked so well that now people plan their weekends around it. The restaurant industry invented a whole mealtime, complete with its own social rules and expectations, and it's been running since the Great Depression. Number 2, hacking your FOMO. When you're trying to buy concert tickets online, your heart's racing. You've got multiple tabs open, ready to fight the entire internet for those seats. Companies figured out they could make you feel that way about anything. This is artificial scarcity, making things rare on purpose. Most limited edition stuff is just regular products with a different label. If your grocery store announced they're only selling 100 special red loaves of bread today, people would lose their minds trying to get one. Not because the bread is better, but because they might miss out. Supreme, the streetwear brand, turned this into an art form. They slapped their logo on a literal brick, and people fought over it. In 2016, they sold a regular clay brick with their logo. It sold out instantly and resold for hundreds of dollars. These companies aren't just selling products, they're selling the thrill of the hunt. They've turned shopping into a video game with rare loot drops. When you're caught up in the excitement, palms sweaty, hovering over that refresh button, you're not thinking about whether you need it. You're just thinking, if I don't buy it now, I'll never get another chance. Number 1, the food pyramid. Remember that colorful triangle from your school days? The one that told you to eat 6 to 11 servings of bread and pasta every day? Well, turns out that wasn't exactly doctor's orders. The food pyramid didn't come from doctors trying to keep you healthy. It was shaped by big grain companies who wanted to sell more bread, cereal, and pasta. Back in 1992, when the USDA was making this pyramid, they were getting massive pressure from food lobbying groups. The original scientific proposal was going to recommend far fewer servings of grains per day, but then the grain industry stepped in, and suddenly, that number jumped to 6 to 11 servings. That's like asking someone to eat an entire loaf of bread every single day. Think about it. How many of us grew up thinking pasta was the foundation of a healthy diet? Your mom wasn't crazy for serving you 3 bowls of spaghetti. She was just following what was basically a cereal company's marketing campaign disguised as government advice. The same pyramid told you to eat fats sparingly, putting healthy fats like olive oil in the same tiny use sparingly category at the top as candy. That's like saying a spoonful of olive oil is as bad for you as a bag of Skittles. Nutrition science now knows this was completely wrong, but by the time they figured it out, an entire generation had been raised thinking bread was better than broccoli. The food pyramid was finally replaced in 2011, but its effects are still with us. Next time you feel guilty about not eating enough bread, remember that guilt was manufactured by corporations, not doctors. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.